Well, Mike Walter, and then Garb, of course.
Usual.
The
Hello.
usual.
Hello.
We'll get right to it. We had a pretty entertaining weekend of NFL football. We'll start with the Vikings and Saints. Ended in dramatic fashion with Case Keenum going to Stephon Diggs and the epic whiff. So I know, Mike, you had a lot to say about that. I wanted you to start. I want you to lead us
Yeah,
off.
I did have a lot to say about that. Obviously, I'm not a big Minnesota fan, but the biggest thing that killed me in this game is a lot of people are crediting the Vikings for winning this when really, ultimately, it was the Saints that totally pissed this game away. A couple things I want to hit on really quick. Stephon Diggs. Early on in the game, he had two pass interference calls that were complete and utter garbage. Well, they were calls like on the cornerback, but he was the receiver, drew the call. Total garbage. One of them, he literally held his hand, the cornerback's hand at his hip, and then fell, just lost his footing by the end zone. It's like probably at 15, 30, 15 and 25, somewhere in there, yard penalty that set him up at the goal line. Like ridiculous. Two penalties like that. And then in this last final play, Case Keenum's not a bad quarterback, but I don't think by any means he's elite. He's had a good year. Piggybacked off that defense. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, look at his numbers. You can't deny his numbers. Well, it really helps when you get the ball picked off at the 15-yard line, the 20-yard line. You're always in good field position. Your defense never puts you in a hole. That's definitely going to help out any quarterback and make any quarterback look good, i.e. Blake Bortles, go down that path, whatever you want. Just saying. And so Case Keenum throws up this hope and a prayer. And from what I've read and heard, that is a corner route. The wide receiver is supposed to catch it right on the sidelines, possibly land like with his feet in bounds and land out of bounds. That's the way it's drawn up because they're trying to stop the clock. Well, when Stephon Diggs comes out of his route, he's very slow. And when he doesn't make it to where he's supposed to be with that route, so it was a shit route to begin with. Whether that be a poorly thrown ball by Case Keenum, I'm going to chalk it up to they're both not as good as – they're not gods like they're being made out to be. And it just really pissed me off that Stephon Diggs thought he was like king of the world, showboating on the sidelines, doing whatever he wants. He did just win the touchdown. I get that, but I can't see the Packers receivers doing that. Maybe Devontae Adams. Jordy gets that. He's not doing that. Randall Cobb's not doing that. And it's like, dude, you got totally whiffed. He took out his own player. That's a whole different story. I'm just saying it was a poorly run route in the beginning. It was a mediocre thrown ball. I mean, he just threw it up on a prayer. You've seen his face afterwards. That was terrible. And that's not even addressing the fact that the defender completely missed. Completely. Whether that's to knock at the pass interference call, whatever you want to believe, it was a joke. And my last point on this, because I want to make it quick for you guys, when every other team runs a prevent defense, there's like six guys back, like three of them on the goal line. We had one guy deep, Williams was deep, and then there was another receiver right by Diggs with a cornerback on him. That's it. Our guy Williams took out the cornerback. That was it. Nobody else back there. You remember when the Lions used to send back Calvin Johnson? You've seen Des Bryant back. Like what? You're in prevent defense. I mean, I know they can get a field goal, but you've got to have more people back than that. That was ridiculous. And that's not even addressing the whole whiff on the play. I don't want to go there. I'll let somebody else take it. But that's my take on that shit show.
Well, that's exactly what I want to just kind of touch on there is I've heard kind of go around that, oh, well, the Vikings deserved it. They came back. What a play. But let's kind of dig into that specific play. Basically, it was thrown in a double coverage. So Keenum got lucky beyond anything else. You had two offensive players, two defensive players. I think it was terribly run routes, terrible pass, just happened to be perfect for everything to happen the way they did. Secondly, I don't understand why he would have even went for the tackle. You go for the ball, you knock it down. What is there, a couple seconds left? There's no way Keenum's throwing that ball 60-plus yards in the air. Game over there. Obviously, we can Monday morning quarterback all this you want, but that last few plays there by the Vikings just were trash. And ultimately, they got away on a going to try to keep myself composed because I don't like the Vikings. But it was just nothing else besides luck. Everything fell in the way it had to on a play design that was less than stellar and implemented the only way possible, and that's by the defense allowing you to catch it. Now, yeah, kudos to Stefan for making that catch, being aware, I can make it to the end zone. Good wherewithal on that, but otherwise, the complete implementation of the entire drive was terrible. The only reason why they got it was because the safety mistimed the play and acted wrong. But Keenum even threw a bad ball. He's just happy that the defense ultimately let Stefan have it without contention. But I don't know. Altogether, I was pulling for the Saints. The comeback was amazing, but like Mike said, in the ball, not a lot of pressure on that team, especially when they're at home. It's almost like you're giving it away. But, I mean, it's neither here nor there.
Right.
Just kind of see what happens next week.
He was never down that whole game. It was 17-0, I believe, at one point. So it's not like you're sitting back pressuring Keenum to throw the ball, and he's got to be Aaron Rodgers making miraculous throws. Not even Aaron Rodgers. Take any other decent quarterback. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying that a great defense makes an average quarterback look phenomenal based on win-loss and great position and everything else.
Well, that too. And, I mean, we're kind of getting away from what Mooney wants to talk about here, but being up like that, you can still run the ball. You can still pass the ball. You have that two-dimensional threat. I mean, that also is a lot of pressure taken off of Keenum because going into that game, I don't believe he had ever played in a playoff game before, and yet now he's starting in the divisional round at home. Like, that's a huge monument start to have as a first-time playoff quarterback, and to have all that pressure pretty much taken off you, that's a huge asset to have. Not taking away from the Vikings as an organization. I mean, I have my personal biases a lot when your team comes together to help your younger offense.
Nate?
All right, so I mean, to really kind of sum it up, that was the Vikings Super Bowl. They're not going to get by the Eagles, not in Philadelphia. They just played in what they're going to call their Super Bowl. You know, with Diggs, I mean, with the whole thing of, you know, acting like he made it great. I mean, he made a good play. Routes were run poorly, yes, but at the same time, you know, that receiver or that safety doesn't, you know, make that piss poor football play. It's a whole different ball game. You're sitting on your ass on the couch watching this next game, and it goes down to, you know, I mean, Keenum did what he, you know, lobbed the ball up there and just, like they call it, a Hail Mary. You hope to hell that it works, and unfortunately, it did work. You can throw the finger at Marcus Williams all you want, but when you really look at it in the long run, you know, I mean, Keenum threw a ball that was not gonna, you know, turn heads or anything like that, and you know the Saints player made a bad play on it. I mean, you can criticize Sean Payton on the way that they drew up that defense. I mean, obviously they know, you know, Case Keenum doesn't have the world's strongest arm. So you would almost think maybe Sean Payton underestimated Case Keenum, you know, even getting the ball there, because maybe that's why he didn't go into prevent. You know, you should have 2 or 3 receivers back there and, you know, one corner, you know, or big safety that can tackle. Like, you should post them up at the 10-yard line and, you know, nobody gets by you.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on that quick. That's actually a really good point, dude. That's something I didn't think about. Like I said, I knew the coverage was whack and what they were running, but you know what? Everyone's criticizing Williams. Well, Williams also had that monster interception that was beautiful in the third quarter that put him in a spot to be where they were. So those people that criticize him don't even know what's going on. Yeah, it was a terrible play, but without him, you're still not where you are. If you want to criticize someone like you just said, dude, hit up Sean Payton, because you should have more than one guy deep right there. You should have at least 3. So that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Like, if you're going to criticize him. But I mean, like I said, I know it's a coverage too.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. No, go ahead, Mooney.
No, you go.
I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, you draw up, you know, obviously you put people back there that obviously can make a game-stopping tackle. But, I mean, at the same time, I mean, Sean Payton just kind of with him throwing up his little skull chant before the play happened, gave himself some bad karma. And, that was unfortunately enough bad karma to have things not go his way. And now he's sitting on his ass watching the playoffs. So that's it.
Yeah, see, what I was going to do, you guys have touched on a lot of good stuff, but what I was going to say too was, Mike, what you said with Marcus Williams, like he made that interception earlier in the game. So without him making that play, they're not even in that position to have the lead or whatever. And I'm gonna not come down on Stephon Diggs super hard for the celebration or whatever. The guy made the biggest play of his career. What do you want him to do? So I have no problem. I have no problem with the celebration.
Richard Rodgers made the biggest play of his career on the Hail Mary at the Lions.
That wasn't to go to the NFC Championship game.
True, but you don't. I mean, there's
time and place, man.
God didn't make that play. God did not make that play. You made that play. I'm sick of these players with their God made this play. God made that play. All right, go ahead. That's all.
All right, we're not. That's a whole other. We're not getting into that. But yeah, and then what's also getting overshadowed by the play, obviously the big whiff, which will go down. They'll see that on the highlight reels forever. Is that the huge second half from Drew Brees, because he was trashed the first half of that game, and then he came back in a big way, and then obviously that
3 tutties, I think.
Obviously some of that had to do with Sendeo getting hurt for the game, and then Xavier Rhodes was out for a stretch. But still, you got to go out there and make the plays. He did. It's just their defense, just one mistake. That's a cliche. It's a cliche, but because it's true. Like one mistake will cost you the game, and it obviously did.
Yeah, that Drew Brees was phenomenal. I think he had 3 touchdowns in the second half alone. Put up a ton of yards. He was excellent. That was a great job on his part.
So what I want to do now is move on to the other game. And
I just want to say one last thing.
Okay.
I got one last thing, just because Nate made a point. I just kind of wanted to put my take on it. I don't really consider this play a Hail Mary. The design of it was not a Hail Mary. The design of it was sideline, and I thought it was implemented terribly. It just happened to work out in the fashion that a Hail Mary would. Am I trying to call you out or anything, Nate? I just don't like how people are referencing this to these Hail Mary plays, because it's traditional style of Hail Mary plays. It just happened to end out the way it did. And yeah, I have nothing against Marcus. The guy played a great second half. I just question why for tackle, not bat the ball.
Well, he was going there.
I'm not.
But
understandable.
I think like what that touches back to what you said before, like the corner route is supposed to go more to the sideline, right? And that's where he was going, was more to the sideline. He didn't expect him.
All right, yeah,
and he had his head down too. Like he didn't see him. So that was just bad all the way around by Williams. But you could also get where Williams was coming from based on the route they ran. So
yeah. Well, all right, all good.
Yeah, and if I may, just to clarify, when I said Hail Mary, I obviously knew that wasn't, a Hail Mary per se. It's like one of those plays where you say, okay, God damn it, we got to make this play, and you're just, it's all hell's on the line, or you're going home. That was kind of my reasoning for using the word Hail Mary, and I couldn't think of another word, but that's kind of where I was going with that, just to clear the air.
All right, and with that, we'll go to the other big game of the weekend, which is the Jaguars upsetting the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I want to completely shit on the Pittsburgh Steelers for completely looking past the Jags. Then we're gonna
after they picked them off 5 times and beat them previously. Just stupid.
Regular season they shat on them. Like it wasn't even close. And then Ben Roethlisberger even contemplated retirement after that game. He was that bad. And then to go back and just do it again when they have the best defense in the league, and they've got LeGarrette Blount, you can't stop the run, or not LeGarrette Blount, Leonard Fournette, and you can't stop the run. So, and you got Antonio Brown coming off an injury. You got Artie Burns, who got hurt in practice. You don't have Ryan Shazier. You got so much going against you, and you're still looking past even the Patriots going to the Super Bowl. Like that just like you want to talk like Nate talked about karma with Sean Payton. This is karma coming to bite him right in the ass.
Yeah, and before a game like that, let's fuel the fire. Give the Jags more to play with. Tell them that you're looking forward to the Pats and you can play the Pats anywhere, and you don't even acknowledge the Jags. Way to fuel the fire there. Just ridiculous.
And everyone else is already shitting on them because they got Blake Bortles as their quarterback, and he played good enough for them to win, which is what they need. And obviously he's got the respect of the locker room because you saw what Mike. I showed you some of the clips after that game.
Oh yeah, he's got that team on his back.
So
100%, they all got his back. I'll just touch on this quick. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Oh,
I thought Garbage too.
I was rooting for the Jags just because of the fact that the Steelers were looking past them and the stuff that they said. I think that's ridiculous. You don't look past any team. But another thing I think what's really Jags kind of got going for them is nobody thinks the Jags as good. They don't think of the Jags as good, and like the Steelers look past them even after they whooped their ass earlier in the season. Remember when they had that fight with the Seahawks? And I don't remember who said it, but he's like, people aren't used to getting beat by the Jags.
That was Bortles. He said it's like people aren't used to getting their ass kicked by us.
And that's the same thing. Like you said, that'll be the day the Browns start beating teams is going to be the same thing. No one's going to think about them. Obviously, the Jags had a quick turnaround from like garbage to decent because I think they were back in the playoffs in 2006.
7, I think.
Yeah, it was 07.
Still been 10 years.
A pretty good turnaround though from like where they were. I mean, 2006 to garbage to back to like the team they are now is pretty quick. But that's relevant. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, and shit, and it was. I can't think of what I was going to say. So
probably going to reminisce about MJD or something.
Yeah, that's what Nate's about to do, ain't he?
No, I'm not living in the past. Oh, but I thought it was a great thing to see what the Jags could do. The Jags got a lot of firepower. That defense is not a defense I want to be messing with right now. It's just the way that they carry themselves. I mean, they're such a young team, but smartest thing Jacksonville ever did is bring Tom Coughlin back and kind of have him advise the team and kind of build what you're seeing right now with all those young guys. And I mean, Bortles gets away with playing just kind of average football, but I mean he's what we like to call a game manager. But he gets the job done when he needs to. And I was really happy to see the Jags win, especially with all the Mike Mitchell talk of we're not focused on you, we're all about the Patriots. Well, just remember, Mike Mitchell, your defense got slaughtered by more than 3 touchdowns on that Jags defense in the last time you played them. So, kind of Mike Tomlin is, and I think Mike Tomlin kind of has the same kind of head on his shoulders, always looking past the teams that could shock them, and the Jags did what they needed to do, and that's really that.
Hey, Garb?
I guess realistically, I don't really got a lot to say about this game. Jacksonville came in and did what I don't know. I can't imagine a lot of people expected Jacksonville to go in and go over. They did what I thought they were going to do, play a well-rounded defensive game. I didn't expect the final to be 45-42. And realistically, going in that, it was a tossed-up game. Pittsburgh's got the firepower to go up against that defense, but at the same time, that defense just as good to stop them. They showed a stat during that game. A.J. Bouye had 90 targets until giving up that touchdown to Brown. 90 targets is a lot of fucking targets without giving up a touchdown. I don't realize a lot of people knew how good that defense was. I think second on that list, I don't remember who it was, like 78. That's a solid amount of targets, especially against a team that a lot of people, for some reason over the year, didn't really respect. Now, I kind of went into this season with looking at Jacksonville's defense that, yes, they're good based on who's on that defense, but I thought they would be affected based on lack of offensive output. But that offense proved throughout the season that they could keep up. Yeah, Bortles has his ups and downs, but that offense did what it needed to do to keep in that game. So I'm not too shocked by this. I mean, the score is more or less what got me out of this. But when I saw at one point they're up 14-0, 21-0, it's like, that's Jacksonville. I mean, they've played all year. There's no reason that they shouldn't be in this game. Now, everyone can say, well, Shazier would have made a difference or blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but tough luck. The game is the game. That's just like us. Rodgers is out. We didn't make it. You play based on who you have. Pittsburgh obviously didn't properly prepare well enough. I also think the onside kick that they did was ill-timed. There was no reason to do it at that time with what they had left. But I just kind of jump on the Jacksonville bandwagon all the way through and hope that we can see them in the Super Bowl.
And so I don't have much to say about that game either. I think we all touched on it pretty good. You want to talk about the other two matchups? I started watching the Patriots Titans, and then once the Patriots got up by like 2 scores, I quit watching because the Titans weren't good enough to beat them, and they were only because the Chiefs completely blew that game. The Titans won, and then I didn't watch the Falcons and the Eagles game either because we were doing other stuff. But
the only thing I'd have to say about the Falcons-Eagles game is I think you throw that ball to Julio 8-9 times out of 10 he catches that. Yes, his 1 foot landed out of bounds anyway. But I think part of that was the fact that he realized that in that split second he didn't have the ball. I think if he catches that ball, those toes come down a lot closer in bounds than what they did. Now, I think that part of the struggle on that play was he was basically tackled in the end zone before Ryan threw it up to him. I'm not trying to make excuses here, but I think he kind of got caught off guard a little bit. He was just regaining his balance to a ball being thrown up to him, and he made a great effort. With Julio, who he is, I think you give that ball to him another chance, he catches that. But, I mean, that's why you play the game.
I do have a quick take on the other game. Well, not really the other game, but like the situation that unfolded yesterday with Titans coach. A little surprising to me that Mike Mularkey loses his job after getting to the divisional playoffs, and Hugh Jackson is 1-30 for the Browns. It just doesn't. The NFL just doesn't make any sense anymore. Like, guy gets it. I mean, nobody. I hated the Titans getting in the playoffs. Trust me, I don't like the Titans. But for a guy to get, I mean, yes, you got destroyed by New England, but most teams do. And then Hugh Jackson still has a job. I think even Joe Thomas came out when Mike Mularkey got fired and tweeted, what the hell is wrong with the NFL? I don't think, I think if he would have lost to the Chiefs, different story. But I think, to get to New England and, even start out against New England, looking all right, but then choking, I think he deserves a job more than Hugh Jackson. So that's it.
Well, I'll just reply to that quickly. It's just they wanted to fire Mularkey anyway. It's just that he won. They thought it's like, we got to keep him now. We got to the divisional game. Just they're off. Mariota hasn't progressed like they wanted, and Mularkey's not the guy to do it. And they wanted to, from what I read, replace the offensive coordinator, and he wouldn't do it. So that's why they canned him. And then the owner likes Hugh Jackson, so that's basically all there is there.
Well, I mean, it's just what if the Titans win that game? Does he keep his job or does he not? I mean, that's.
Well, if they beat New England, I would assume that he keeps his job and everyone keeps their job. So
you'd hope so. You'd hope so, but
we'll move on. We'll give our predictions later in the podcast, but since the last time we did this, the Packers have made 3 new hires. They hired Brian Gutekunst. I still don't know how to pronounce his name, to replace Ted Thompson as the GM. They hired Joe Philbin they brought back Joe Philbin for their OC, and then they hired Mike Pettin as defensive coordinator. We don't need to talk about all of the picks or all their picks, but I'll just ask you guys this question. Which Which hire, I guess, do you think which one do you like the most? Which hire do you like the most?
Joe Philbin is my favorite hire. I'm just going to briefly go over that. Mike Pettin, I really like. I think he's going to be a great hire. But I have to lean on Philbin. The only thing that really bugs me about Mike Pettin is he's had really top-ranked defenses. What do you guys like 2, 5, and 10? But the only thing that I question with Pettin's defenses is every year he's been in a place, they've continually gotten a little bit worse. And maybe he's handed that defense, and that's why it's always so good. So that's the only thing that kind of is just a little leery to me. Yes, they've been top 15 every time, but it's gone like 2, 5, 8, and 10 when he was with the Jets. Like progressively got worse. Could that be a multitude of issues? Sure. That's what scares me about him. A GM hire, we're not going to know. You're not going to know. He could be the best scout ever. You're not going to know if he's going to be a good GM or not. I really like the Philbin hire because it's proven true. He now has that coaching experience. He kind of knows the whole role. He also knows how to coordinate really well as an offensive coordinator. He showed so when he was with the Packers previously and won a Super Bowl back when our offense was high-powered before we started to have all these receiver issues that couldn't get open and A-Rod standing in the pocket for 10-plus seconds and then throwing the ball away or getting sacked. So that is why I love the Philbin hire. I think it's going to be great. I think our offense is going to be better than it has been just because he's back in the offensive role, not necessarily calling the shots. It's still with McCarthy, but I'm really hoping that that's like a really very much so combined effort. At least the game plan is all Philbin is my hope. So
I want to piggyback off that. I think Philbin's the best, in my opinion, too, because of that experience, because he knows he's got the relation with McCarthy, with Rodgers. He's got that already in his system. I don't like that McCarthy is keeping the play calls, though. I think he needs to give that up. There's no reason that someone should be running the offense, running the defense without being able to actually run their respective side. Let them have those play calls. Now, the only downer about Philbin coming in is I wish we would have brought someone newer. Now, I know Philbin's got the experience. He's smart. He knows what's going on. I just feel that we should have got someone who's younger, kind of go with that McVay mentality of let's get these young guys who might still need a little bit to prove themselves, but give them that motivation. I mean, I know it's kind of hit and miss in that aspect, but I just didn't like us going back to what worked in the past because that's a lot of reasons why people are criticizing what's going on in Oakland is Gruden is bringing together this star-studded crew that was good in the past. We don't know if that's going to transition over because the NFL has changed dramatically in just even the past 5 years, well be it 10 and more. That's the only thing that concerns me is Philbin going to be able to keep that success he had back then, or are we going to run into the similar issues where we have these stalled-out offensive drives that result in no points? So he's my favorite, but I also have my concerns on it.
I'm going to go with the better hire was Mike Pettin, and here's why. If McCarthy ever gives up that playbook and gives it to Philbin, my opinion is more than likely going to change. But until, like you guys said, until McCarthy's willing to give up that playbook to the respective offensive mind that should be running our plays anyway on offense, I think Pettin's a better hire. I mean, yes, you could say he's gotten, worse as far as like his numbers. However, look at the teams he's been on compared to, you go from Buffalo to Cleveland, it's all kind of a blur.
Let me just touch on that. That wasn't necessarily my point. I realized you're not going to hop into the Browns and have a top 15 defense. What I meant was he was with the Jets for 4 years, and it continually got worse every year he was there. That was mostly what I was hitting on, even though it did get worse with Buffalo and then obviously the Browns. But I can't fault him for that. I'm simply saying when he was with the Jets, it got worse every year he was there. Still top 10. I'm just saying that's a concern, minor concern for me.
Right, and I think too with with his the pedigree that he kind of brings, kind of a no bullshit kind of coach. I think that'll work with our defense, especially with the way he handled all the BS in Cleveland with Manziel and whatever. I mean, I like Manziel, whatever, but I think he's going to be a better guy on our defense. As far as anything's better than Dom Capers at this point. So I think we can only go up from here. So
let's see. I was I'm gonna go with Nate here on this one. I really like the Mike Pettin hire. I liked who they were I guess, the other guys that they were looking at. But they didn't promote from within on their defense, so it's not just more of the same. You bring in a new style. Hopefully, it reinvigorates. Hopefully, he puts a guy like Clay Matthews in better position to make plays. Because we all know his production's dropped off, and then maybe just mixing things up, and he's not as predictable. And that's a lot of what Dom Capers' downfall is that the defense was just so stale and predictable, like our offense was. So you get new ideas. He's had I understand the ranks have gone down, but the ranks have still been pretty good, and the Packers haven't even gotten anywhere close to that. So if we can even go up just a little bit, that's great. I'm not expecting top 5 like he's done, but that's my thing. I like the Penton hire, and like you said with the GM, I like that he said he's going to leave no stone unturned. He'll do what he can, but we're not going to be able to.
Can't judge a GM without
we can't judge until we see it.
Yeah.
But I have very high hopes. I like all 3 of the hires, but.
Can I ask you, do you such a huge Penton hire is your favorite, not necessarily because of him, the candidate, but because you hated his predecessor in Capers so much? Like, you just want a new face in there, and I get that, so did I, but is that really pushing why you like Penton? I mean, you would have liked other guys? I like Penton because of his track record. And he's a guy that I wanted a guy like Rex Ryan before too. You guys know that, and Mike, he swears by this guy, and the players like playing for him. Players like playing in his defense. And so I think it's a great hire. I'm just saying, I think realistically, unless it was like the Browns D coordinator, we're going to be pretty thrilled with a D coordinator, just because Capers been so bad. Anyone would be good. I loved for college D coordinators that have been successful to come in anything. But I agree. It's a good hire.
Yeah, it's more than obviously getting rid of Dom Capers is what we were hoping for, and that's great. But it's more than just that. Which is why I like the pick.
Cool.
But yeah, so you got that, and then we'll move on quickly to this weekend's games. You got the championship games, NFC. You got the Falcons, or not the Falcons, obviously. The Eagles at home against the Vikings in the AFC. You got the Jaguars playing against the New England Patriots. We'll get some predictions in. And who wants to start us off?
I'll go. So, who I want to win and who I think is going to win are opposite in both games. I want to see Jacksonville go to the Super Bowl for several reasons. One, I think it's a great story. It'd be awesome for the city, for the team, for the league in general. Also, I don't want to see New England go because it's the same old story. 7 straight AFC championships. Brady's got 5 Super Bowls, been to 7 altogether. I mean, they were talking about the stats between the 2 quarterbacks combined. 5 Super Bowl wins, 4 Super Bowl MVPs, 13 Pro Bowl appearances, 2 NFL MVPs. If you catch my drift, all of that is pretty much all of that is Tom Brady. So, obviously, Tom Brady is old news. Obviously, there's a reason he keeps the success going. But I want to see something new. I want to see something great. I think Jacksonville would be awesome to see in the Super Bowl for several reasons. But that being said, I just don't know if that offense is going to have enough to get past the Patriots. Now, I think the defense is going to give Brady a run for his money. But I'm thinking just with how Brady's able to manage the game, with having the offense he has, with that running back and the running back committee, especially with Burkhead possibly being back, and the fact that Gronkowski, I think it's going to be a really tough matchup. I think Jacksonville can hold their own defensively, but I think that's where the game is going to be decided. Can Jacksonville's defense hold the offense to allow Bortles and Fournette to get stuff rolling, or are they going to get behind too much where it's going to put it on Bortles' arm? That's where I think it's going to fail. So I want to see Jacksonville. I'm picking the Patriots. Going to Eagles and Vikings. You give me Carson Wentz in this, I take Eagles all day. I don't like either team in this matchup. The two teams I wanted in the NFC or didn't want to see in the NFC are here. I mean, my bias is going to kick in. Fuck the Vikings. I don't want to see them win. I don't think they deserve it. That's personal bias here. I think if you have Carson Wentz, they win this game, no doubt, in Philadelphia. Having Nick Foles, I think he's going to struggle against this defense. That defense is going to do exactly what they did against New Orleans. They're going to help. They're going to beef up. They're going to really give Keenum a chance to succeed with what they offer him. And I think it's just going to be too much for that defense to hold. Even though I don't think Keenum's that good, that defense is just going to put him in position to succeed. So yet again here, love to see the Eagles go, thinking it's going to be the Vikings. And I swear to God, I don't want to see Vikings and Patriots in the Super Bowl. Don't give me both. Don't give me both. I can accept one, just don't give me both.
All right, Mike, we're going down the line. You're up next.
Okay, Nate's on the line next on my screen, but that's fine.
Okay, we can start with Nate if you're not ready.
No, I'm good. I was just messing with you. Very much so like Garb in what I want to happen, what I think is going to happen. Obviously, I really want the Eagles to go, but I think that defense is too much for Nick Foles. I love Nick Foles. I think he's the best backup in the league. I think if unless you consider Case Keenum backup, which is a different story, but I think he's an amazing backup, and he could win a lot of games, but I just think that defense is too good. The only thing that the Eagles might have going for them is the Vikings are coming off such a high point that they're bound to slump a little bit. But I think the Vikings come out on top, just too good. The Eagles don't have the defense that people think they have. I think they're decent, but I don't think they're great. Going Vikings, like to see the Eagles in there, but I'm going Vikings. Next, Jags, Pats. This is going to be an epic showdown. I'm so pumped for this. I think that the Jags defense is going to be huge. If you watch Tom Brady this season, everyone said he's like potentially lost a step once he retired. He's had some awful throws. You don't make awful throws against Jacksonville because if you watch the Steelers-Jacksonville game, the touchdowns that were thrown were insane grabs with a hand in between every time. Dilfer dimes every pass. There wasn't blown coverage, no joke. I mean, go back, look at the highlight reel. I was sitting there, and I'm like, how is he catching this? This is impossible. There's a hand through there, and it's like a perfect drop in here. It was insane. I don't think they have Gronk and a good, decent running backs, but I don't think they're going to be able to do much against Jacksonville. And that's saying a lot against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, but that defense is smothering. The other thing is the Jags have the #1 rushing offense in the league. If they can get that rolling at all, get a couple of dink-and-donk here from Bortles, I think they'll be fine. I think it'll be close, but I like the Jags on top this game.
All right, so I'm going to start with the NFC. One thing we all know as Packer fans is that the Vikings choke. We all know that. And, it's just got some bad juju or some shit in Minnesota that, this is not going to happen. There's no way in hell they're going to be playing in a Super Bowl in their own stadium. I just don't believe it's going to happen. This game's in Philly. You have two quarterbacks that I think are about the same level with Foles and Keenum. And two things I will point out is how much action time is Xavier Rhodes going to get? How much action time is Andrew Sendejo going to get? I mean, Rhodes will probably play most of the game, but Sendejo's probably going to be out because of concussion. I don't know why the fuck I started there. But I think the Eagles will prevail. It's going to be a damn close game. And I think, if this game's in Minnesota, it's probably a different story. Minnesota probably wins. But I think with the game in Philly and Vikings actually having to play outside for a change, I got the Eagles. The other side of the coin on the AFC, Mike basically stole everything I said. As far as Jags, I've been riding the Jags for a while now. That defense is just something else. Jalen Ramsey said we're going to the Super Bowl, bitch. So, motherfucker, the Jags are going to the Super Bowl. That's that.
All right. I'm going to touch quickly on the NFC with what you guys said about the Vikings being on such a high from the Saints game. Like, I get it, but I think they're going to go back around just because like of what Nate said, the opportunity of them playing a home Super Bowl game, I think that's going to get them pretty pumped up. But I do think the Eagles are going to win just because their defense is pretty damn good too. They're pretty close with the Vikings, and they can control the clock with their running game. They've got three really good backs with obviously you got Jay Ajayi, LeGarrette Blount, and Corey Clement, Badger on Wisconsin. So yeah, I got the Eagles in that game. And then this may be going head over heart or heart over head, like where Nate's going. But I like the Jags too, just because, like you guys said, that defense, and they'll be able to pressure Tom Brady. And when you get to Brady and like can keep hitting him, you can rattle him. The Chiefs have done it even. So, and if they can all we just need is one more good game from Blake Bortles. I know it's probably asking too much, but I like the Jags too, going with the upset.
I got one more point I wanted to throw in there. I also think with the Patriots-Jags game, you're losing both your offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator next year. I think New England, I think that is going to cause a slight distraction. I mean, everyone talks how New England's great at blocking out distractions, but those just kind of like with Shermer on the Vikings, probably going to be, or he's supposed to be the next Giants coach. Those little things do distract players. If they're not seeing their full heart, in that team right at that moment. So, I mean, I think it might mess with both teams just a little bit, but same story.
All right. Thank you guys for your predictions. We are now up to our final segment, the Few Good Minutes segment. Just from the last time we've podcasted, what are you seeing that you want to talk about?
I'll take this one. Go ahead, Nate.
All right. So in the NBA, last 2 days, I have seen it has turned into the WWE. I have seen, you see the Rockets and the Clippers get into it with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. And then today you see Orlando and the Timberwolves get into it. When I watch basketball, I want to watch basketball. I don't need to see all this thuggery, all this ghetto NBA street basketball crap. I want to watch my NBA. I want to watch the teams, and I don't want to watch activity going on during the games with punches and all that other crap. Leave that shit at home. I'm just tired of it. If I want to watch fights, like real fights, I'll watch hockey or I'll watch WWE. I'm not gonna turn on the.
Wait! You want to watch real fights? WWE?
Real
Do
fights,
not like
man.
MMA or boxing.
Boxing too would work, but at the same time, I don't know. Adam Silver needs to do something because this is getting a little ridiculous from what I've been witnessing. So that's my 2 minutes. Mike, you're next.
All right, going down the line.
All right, I got something I want to go off of that. So, Nate, all this fighting going on in the NBA, that shit's fake. We're going to talk some real stuff. WWE got some big stuff coming up over these next couple weeks. One thing I'm pumped for, they got Raw 25 next Monday. 25 years since Raw first started. It's coined the longest episodic running episode in the history of television every Monday since I think it was January 23rd, 1992. Something like that. It was end of January 1992. So 25 straight years. I'm personally pumped for this because I'm just a fan of the show, and the fact that they're bringing back so many legends on what's going to happen. Yeah, Ric Flair coming back, Stone Cold coming back, New Age Outlaws coming back. Just so much they got packed into this episode. Then to be followed up that weekend by the Royal Rumble. Just a lot of big things happening there. And just kind of going along with the same theme there, Goldberg is going into the Hall of Fame this year. Now, I know everyone out there, if you don't like wrestling, it's scripted, blah, blah, blah. I don't care what you think about it. Obviously, yeah, it's all storylines, but the shit isn't fake. You go through a table, you jump off the top turnbuckle, this shit's not some easy thing you can do in the backyard. So give credit where credit's due there. Goldberg had a huge career both in WCW and his run in WWE. It'd be exciting to see him get what he's deserved over that long career. I'm looking forward up to WrestleMania. The road to WrestleMania is starting already, and especially with the Women's Royal Rumble this year. Huge history, a lot of stuff coming up. Hopefully the writers get it all right, so we'll see what happens.
All right, Mike, you're up. Let's go.
Will the Arachnid be making an appearance, you think?
Where, at the Rumble?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the Royal Rumble match.
Beauty, that's my guy.
For all you people who don't know who that is, he's talking about Bray Wyatt. He's scared of him.
About the only 300-pound guy that can backwards crawl at you. But I'm going to take my 2 minutes and go out against this quote that got blown out of proportion. It kind of pisses me off a little bit. Blake Bortles was asked, he asked something along the lines of like, are the haters ever going to stop, or can you finally silence them? And he said, and I quote, "It'll probably never stop. There's people that think LeBron James sucks, so if that happens, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that always think I suck." That got blown out of proportion in saying that he was comparing himself to LeBron James by every media outlet there was. That is not at all what he was trying to mean. My interpretation, I guess. I'm not best friends with Blake Bortles, but I blatantly read this as in, if people are dumb enough to make fun of or to hate on LeBron James and say he's not a good basketball player, they're just dumb enough to not acknowledge his basketball feats, there's always going to be people that hate Blake Bortles because he's not anywhere near that. And that is what he was trying to say. He's not saying, well, people make fun of LeBron James, so people are going to make fun of me because I'm LeBron James of football. Not at all. Not even the same category. And it's just, is there any real media out there anymore that just like will say the truth at all? Garbage. Fake news. Go Bucks.
All right, so I'll take a run from that. Is one thing I've liked to see the last few weeks after the Andy Dalton made that huge throw to get Buffalo into the playoffs, and they donated a shit ton of money to his charity. Same thing just happened with it was Bengals fans. They went to and donated money to Blake Bortles' charity after he went and beat the Steelers. So I think that was pretty cool. And then I'll just take the last second to plug something real quick. Check out afewgoodmics.com tomorrow. First mock draft of the year will be coming out. Pre-free agency. We'll go with the first mock draft of the year. Looking forward to sending that out. So that's it for episode 29. I'd like to thank you guys for listening, whether you're on iTunes or watching on YouTube. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Howdy.